you can say, well, first of all, these are lies, so they're defamation, or like, the NDA you signed, you're going to get sued now. So we're actually getting sued. Like, that's what it is. Like, if you work for Kim Kardashian, and you go and say, there's a product coming out in 9 months and it's called Skims. She takes the ass and she puts Kim's and it's going to be shapewear, and that gets out there, you're in trouble. Like, that's what an NDA is for. It's confidential information. This California law, but I even think like it's like with Britney and her conservatorship. Like, I don't think you can't sign an NDA and then say, I witnessed, a rape, I witnessed severe racism, I witnessed, the favoritism of men, I witnessed, whatever else I witnessed people being plied with alcohol, false imprisonment. Both Kim D and Allison Dubois have had stories that they've told me, on this podcast in the past about like when they were locked into, a room or such. So like, you can't sign an NDA isn't like, well, now I can't talk about that type of egregious bad behavior. It's that I can't talk about production secrets and what's coming up on the show. So I think it's this California law, but I also think it's a brilliant move. And I think like, yeah, you can't, like, an NDA wouldn't hold up to that. And that's the thing. And they're also saying retaliation that like NBC said. So, I mean, I don't know. Are there texts from
that's what
Andy
they do, right? That's what they, like, to your point, you can tell the truth of what happened there. I mean, I've signed NDAs, leaving various corporate gigs, but you can, as long as you are telling the truth about whatever mistreatment happened. Exactly. The only thing they can really do is they retaliate against you, right? Which is, I'm sure, also illegal. They probably,
well, that's what they're saying too. They're saying that NBC would say, or producers or Andy or whoever, I don't know who exactly, would say, and if you breathe a word of this, you're screwed. So that ain't legal just because you signed an NDA. I mean, being threatened, it's not how it works. So yeah. I think it's more like there is precedent. I forgot the network that did this, of like letting these people out of the NDA so they can talk, versus like the end result is, look, I don't think they would let them out if the end result wouldn't be that they'll lose on this argument. So they're saying, like Garagos and Freeman are saying, like, let them out because here's the law and we're going to go through all this, and then you're going to have to let them out anyway. They cited another network where they let them out and said, go ahead, we're just voluntarily doing this. But I think if Bravo does that, it's not altruistic. It's like, we're going to spend, $900,000 and we're going to end up in the same results. I think the NDA thing, I think, is very interesting. And that's where it's like, all of this is going to start coming out. And it's like, the rumor is that her group is housewives heavy as opposed to other things in the Bravo world.
Meaning Bethenny's group.
Yeah.
People who have teamed up with Bethenny. I think that's true. Don't you think? I mean,
the rumored 80 people. Yeah, I do. I mean, you look at like people that were terminated for things. You have like a Stassi, like a Leanne Locken, where, even like a Jenny Ann, like whether they're, whatever it is, when there's controversy surrounding it, I think, again, just because someone says something doesn't mean these aren't people that have infractions. It just means, I think, you raise your hand and you're like, like Mike Shued from, Shaw's was just, speaking out. So I think, yeah, I think I don't know. This could really be something. I really do think it could be something.
Sounds like it's certainly getting that momentum for sure. And like I've said from the start, there needs to be. I think everybody agrees there needs to be. Like, it's been how many years ago did reality television start? Over 20? Back in 2000, I can't even remember when the Osbournes launched, when, Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey were on. I mean, the
good old days.
I mean, the good old days. I mean, they had no protection then. Nothing.
They had no protection. I mean, look, times are changing. Hold on to your seat, Sarah.
I think it's going to be juicy too. I agree.
What about the fact that, I mean, we might as well just stay on this. We have so many other things to get to. The fact that they say, which I appreciate this. They say, like, Bethenny, at least do some research next time.
Why? It doesn't make any difference. People are still going to tune in. It's like Howie Mandel. Howie Mandel didn't even know what a scandal was. Everybody tuned in. We all watched. I mean, I've never watched Howie Mandel's show. I didn't even know he had a podcast, and I've never listened again. No offense. I actually like Howie Mandel. I mean, he's had an amazing career, but
you just don't have time.
You don't have time to listen to all. I don't know. So far, I haven't seen him do anything of interest that I'm interested in, but I don't know that I'm his audience. I kind of agree with Bethenny on this. I don't know. I agree and I disagree. I'm looking at, David, you're notorious for your research. And one of the things I always admired about Howard Stern and Oprah is, I mean, they were meticulous. They had a team, Howard still does, of producers who go back. I mean, they call up former agents, they call up former friends, not digging, but like, all right, tell us a story. Tell me about something that Tom Arnold did to Roseanne Barr. Roseanne's going to be on, like, because those are the stories that get the celebrity, because they've all been interviewed a bazillion times off kilter, and then they start talking about that time they ran into Paul McCartney, and then they gave Paul
That's what
McCartney
you
a
gotta
blowjob.
do.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yes.
So,
That's what you gotta do,
I
man.
see it. I get what people are saying. Why didn't you dive in? Why didn't you hire a producer to go back and watch from the very first time Raquel walked on set what was happening? I mean, it is a little lazy.
I mean, listen, no ego, because again, a lot of things in life I ain't good at, but I mean, I feel like I'm the best in the business, and I think I could have done a much better job than Miss Frankel. No shade. That's just, again, I can give you a list of
You're really good.
all the things that I suck at in life. But there is a lot of, listen, every show is not created equal. Some are 30 minutes. You do this, you do that. But when I have like a Bo Dietl or an Allison, and we're going to let's talk about He'll Never Fulfill You. And now this Kyla Mauricio thing is the top headline. Like when it's a big one, Juicy Joe. Yeah. I mean, I dive in and it is just a process. And I find that is the one thing I cannot hand off to anyone else, because my mind has to go through telling the story. And as I'm preparing, I'm like, oh my God, this is the question. And then we have to, this is it. This is the big, and then it's like, I have literally 3 coming up, 2 in particular that I'm back on my, look, we had Allison, we had Juicy, but I don't rest on my laurels, girl. I got some 2, if they actually happen, big things coming up here. But so I think when it's one of those, which certainly Raquel Leviss is, I mean, there's so much that was left on the table, I feel.
I agree, but that I agree with Bethenny. It wasn't the point. This is where I see like Lala.
And I'm not coming for Bethenny, because I mean, there's only so much you can do in a 3-part sit down.
Yeah, but I mean, they supposedly had an hour, I guess, was what they had agreed upon. But I do think that Bethenny had an agenda, right? It was to build a case and kind of show, look how much mental torture this woman has been put through. Look at how they paraded her out for this reality reunion, called her everything in the book, let them spew vile things. Again, I think you kind of signed up for it. And I feel like, again, Rachel was in a position to just say she didn't want to be in the same room as them and could have also been on her own part. I thought it was brave of Rachel to do that. Anyhow, and it just made Lala and James look wacky, I thought, in the whole reunion.
I'm shocked she doesn't talk about the trailer and they have you in it. Dramatics, people, dramatics. But
I think Bethenny did have an agenda, right? It was to build Bethenny's case against these networks and to say, to lay bare to the world, look at how they abuse people.